Factsverse presents Craziest Ways People Have Quit Their Jobs. Number 1. 420. Charlo Green was working as a reporter for a new news network in Anchorage, Alaska. After a few years, she was sick of her on-air career and decided to focus on her dream of legalizing marijuana in Alaska. She announced her resignation on live television to the shock of her bosses, coworkers, and everyone who was tuned in that day. When she made her resignation speech, she dropped the F-bomb and walked off the set. If she ever decides she misses being on the air, chances are she'll have a difficult time finding a job. Number 2. The icing on the cake. Chris Holmes had a job at Stansted Airport in England. He became a father at the age of 31 and said that it changed his whole outlook on his life. He decided that spending time with his family was his main priority, and if he had to be away from them to work, he should be doing something that he liked. After this realization, he quit his job in a strange way. Cake designing was a hobby of his, so he decided to create his resignation letter on a white iced cake with black icing for the text. With a steady hand, he wrote several paragraphs detailing his reasons for leaving his job. His coworkers were sad to see him go, but they did enjoy eating his resignation letter. Number 3. We thank you for flying. Steven Slater worked in the airline business for 20 years as a JetBlue flight attendant. Over the years, he eventually got tired of pushy passengers and the same mundane pre-flight speeches. After returning from a flight from Pittsburgh to JFK Airport, he decided that it was time to quit his job, and he did it in a rather dramatic way. When the flight landed, he took the intercom and began berating the rude passengers. Next, he grabbed a beer and slid down the emergency chute. His antics made him an instant celebrity as he was all over the news. Unfortunately, he was fined $10,000 and received a year of probation for his illegal exit. Number 4. Tell it like it is. Greg Smith woke up one morning in 2012 and decided that he had had enough of his job as an executive director at Goldman Sachs and decided to quit. He got the job right out of school and worked his way up to the top of the company. Rather than giving his resignation letter to his superiors, he had it printed in the New York Times. According to the letter, the company had become toxic. His letter detailed all of the reasons that he was quitting his job, and it didn't look good for Goldman Sachs. He stated that they tried to sell clients products that they didn't need and that they referred to customers as Muppets. He believed that a public resignation letter was the most appropriate way to leave his job. Number 5. What I really think. Anyone who watches the news often knows that most news networks have their own agendas and their own political angles. Liz Wall realized this while she was working for a news network funded by the Russian government called Russia Today. The network presents all of their stories in a pro-Russian light. Finally, in 2014, Wall decided that she had had enough of the way that the network was reporting the events that were happening in the Ukraine. While she was on air, she announced all of the problems that she had with the network and told her bosses, co-workers, and viewers that she was quitting. Number 6. Dance it all the way. Marina Shirin worked as a video producer for a Taiwanese animation firm. After a few years with the company, she decided it wasn't for her. She decided it was time to end her relationship with the company, so she decided to produce one last video. In her resignation video, she is seen dancing around the office to Kanye West's Gone. On the screen, you could see the text that stated why she was quitting. She gave reasons such as sacrificing her time, energy, and relationships for the job because her boss cared more about quantity and less about the employees. The video went viral, and Queen Latifah offered her a role on her talk show. Number 7. With a little style. Phil Sipka was working as a barista in Chicago when he decided it was time to look for something else. He didn't hate the job, but he wanted to move on. Instead of giving his 2 weeks' notice like most people, he decided to go out in style. He asked The Steve Harvey Show for a little help, and he presented his resignation in song while being backed up by a barbershop quartet. Many people believe it was staged because his co-workers knew that he was coming in to work simply to quit, but they didn't know before his arrival that his resignation was going to be delivered in that way. Number 8. A beat we can march to. Some people quietly hand in their resignation while some want it to be completely over the top. A 23-year-old man, Joey DeFrancesco, is the type who wanted an over-the-top resignation. He was working in a hotel in Rhode Island and grew tired of it. To let his superiors know that he was leaving, he let them know while being backed up by a marching band. The whole thing was caught on video, even the part where he handed his resignation letter to his boss. After, he and the band marched out. Number 9. Massive audience. Most people walk into their boss's office and tell them privately that they are quitting. There are also people who want to quit their job in front of 100 million people. A woman named Gwen Dean chose the latter. She worked for 18 years as a machine engineer, and all she wanted to do was pursue her dream of becoming a puppeteer. To let her boss know she was leaving, she teamed up with GoDaddy and let her boss know during a Super Bowl commercial. Most people who saw that commercial were probably wishing they could see the look on her boss's face. Number 10. Leaving Taco Bell. This is one of the craziest ways people have quit their jobs. A Taco Bell employee had obviously had enough of his job and his boss named Adam. Before he quit his job, he was in charge of putting up the letters in the lighted sign with the current specials. Instead, he wrote, "I quit, Adam. F you." This is one of the boldest ways to quit a job ever.